might be regret that, but I am extremely proud of this community. We serve a culturally rich, linguistically blessed, diverse community here in North Aurora. So many of our kids and our families come here with dreams, and we're just happy and privileged to be part of making those dreams a reality. A few years ago, right after COVID, Hinckley was in turnaround status. Through the hard work of our staff, our students, and our community, we've moved from turnaround to priority improvement to improvement, and we're beating some of the other schools in on track, SAT, all the things that really count. We're also able to graduate between a third and half of our students with a seal of biliteracy, the most in the district, because of the blessed linguistic skills our kids come with. And so it has been my privilege to serve this community, and I'm so glad to be able to show off our beautiful building and our wonderful community to you. And I'm very also honored to have all of you here, as well as have our congressman here as well. So wanted to welcome for you guys. I'm honored to welcome a former Army Ranger, a Bronze Star recipient, and the Colorado representative for the 6th District, Congressman Jason Crow.
And then what we're going to do tonight is the congressman's going to speak, welcome you all, and then those of you who gave us tickets, I'm going to draw the tickets and read a couple numbers at once so people know that they're coming up. So please have your tickets out, and if you get called, we will have someone run a microphone to you so you can ask the question so that everyone can hear. And I just wanted to say, if folks are here to interrupt, you will be asked to leave and escorted out. We have a great conversation, and just wanted to let folks know that we will be working if folks disrupt. So with that, the conversation should have a moment, but thank you all so much.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Thank you. Good evening to you. Thank you for coming to this next installment of our town halls. The good news is I'm here and not currently incarcerated by the Trump administration, nor do I plan to be anytime in the future. I'm going to address that news up front and kind of my approach to it, and then talk to you, just give you an update of what we're doing in Washington, what I'm doing to defend this community, to defend Colorado, and to more broadly defend the country. It is true that last Wednesday, Donald Trump ordered prosecutors at the Department of Justice. These are actually kind of his political hacks, to be honest with you. These are folks that he just recently appointed to pursue an indictment against me and Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin and other House members for doing our job, actually. It is my job as a member of Congress to make sure that the legislative branch or the executive branch follows the law, that the military follows the law, that federal law enforcement follow the law. And as a combat veteran, I take my job very seriously as a member of the Armed Services Committee to make sure that our service members know that we have their back when they do the right thing, that they follow the oath, and that they follow their law, and that their allegiance is to the country and to the Constitution, not any one person. So we We wanted to make very clear last year that that was where we stood, where we continue to stand. The president did not like that, and he has continued to attack, to accuse us of treason and sedition, accuse us of death penalty violations, and now pursue us with his Department of Justice. So we are not going to stop. We're not going to back down from this, because I want to be really clear that we know that this is not about us, me, Mark Kelly, Alyssa Slotkin. We know it's not about the video even. What this is about is the president trying to send a message to America that if you speak up, if you dissent, if you exercise your First Amendment rights, if you organize, you protest, and you mobilize, that you'll be crushed, that the costs of that will be too high. And that is simply a message that I will never allow him to send. So I continue to defend this community. I filed a lawsuit last year against the Department of Homeland Security for violating the law, a law that I helped pass years ago that guarantees that members of Congress and our staff have access to ICE, CBP, and HHS detention centers. Because sitting here right now today, there are 70,000 people in immigration detention around the country. Over 150 Americans, U.S. citizens, have been unlawfully arrested, detained, and some deported. There have been over 30 deaths in ICE custody in 2025, which is the highest level in 2 decades. The abuses that we see with our own eyes, right? This isn't a matter of opinion, this isn't a matter of interpretation. You have mass law enforcement in unmarked vehicles, snatching people off the streets, detaining them without hearings, without habeas corpus, deporting people without hearings, abusing, beating, and now even murdering our own people in plain sight. Alex Preddy and Renee Good. I will not allow it to continue. And I will do everything in my power to make sure that we deprive this runaway agency and these lawless actions of funding, that we pass laws to put guardrails in place to protect Americans, to protect our immigrant community, to make sure that people are treated lawfully and with humanity and dignity. In addition to this, I am not going to sit back and pretend like things are normal, because they're not. You all know, and I see a lot of familiar faces here. You've seen me over the years. I will always work across the aisle to do what's right for this community, to pass legislation, to make people's lives better. I have been one of the most bipartisan members of Congress. I'm always in the top 10%. 80% of the bills that I've introduced, I've done so with a member of the other side of the aisle. I believe in this project of governing, and I believe that enduring, lasting solutions are those that you build big coalitions, where you have to cross the aisle and bring people along with you. I still believe that. At the same time, I am not going to pretend like it's normal, and I'm not going to give a permission structure for people who have turned their back on the Constitution to do so without responsibility and accountability. So I am speaking up. I am putting maximum pressure on my colleagues. I am not pulling any punches. And I am looking for opportunities to make sure that I am imposing costs on the administration and those who wish to be lawless, who have turned their back on the Constitution, who have turned their back on their obligation, and wish to take advantage of the weak and the defenseless. Because until we put costs on them in the form of accountability and elections and legal recourse, then they will continue these abuses. So I'm using every mechanism at my disposal. Lawsuits, legislation, appropriations, oversight, mobilization, and accountability, and I will continue to do that. So, I want to open it up to all of you. That's what I wanted to say at the outset, the level set here with you all. I want to open it up to all of you and hear what's on your mind. I think Ashley explained how we're going to go about this to make sure it's randomized and everyone has an equal opportunity. So Ashley, over to you.
Great, and we have the helmet for the schools. Yay, thank you.
Oh, that reminds me. I'm sorry, I messed this up again, Ashley. I wanted to give a shout out to Tom Sullivan, Senator Tom Sullivan, who's in attendance tonight, if you're still here, Tom. And Principal Dr. Abeda Swintus as well, who you heard from earlier. Thank you for hosting us. Oh, Commissioner Sumney. Hi, Commissioner. How are you? Please stand up. Did I miss any other local electeds here? Okay, thank you.
Great. So I will read two numbers. The first,
We'll ask the first question, and the second, you'll be waiting to ask the next question. So we will start with the number 629.
810.
Anyone have that ticket?
Say the last four again.
2810.
Believe it or not.
That's you. Is it you? Great. Okay.
All right.
And I'm going to read the next one just so that person will know they're next. So the next one, the last four numbers are 2812. 2812. So please stand up and we'll have a mic coming to you.
Hello, my friend. I'd say long time no speak, but we talk all the time.
And we're going to talk about, I don't know, about the 4th?
Yeah, you're coming to DC in a couple of weeks.
Right, yeah, and we're going to see each other on Wednesday, I think.
I think that's right, yeah.
Right, and I'm going to go bother you then, and you're going to try to run away. No, but my question is, in the last 2 days, I've been inundated by questions. Just my phone's blown up, emails blown up. People who haven't talked to me in a while have been reaching out, asking me, I will say it nicely, what's going on with the VA and their new rule?
Mm-hmm.
And the rule is about the engagement of how they manage medication and their disabilities, on how you rate disabilities for GIs and veterans as they get out or as they reapply. And that we're concerned. All the veterans service organizations are concerned. Since I've been here, I've had 7 people approach me to ask me the same questions. It's nonstop.
Yeah.
And that we don't have a plan yet. The VFW didn't have a plan yet. We had a meeting on it, a little meeting on it this morning, that we want to talk to people and say what is going on here, and that I know you are also affected.
Yeah.
So I want to know what your thoughts are, if you haven't. If you haven't yet, I know this is new information for you.
I do, and I know it's new, but I am aware of it. So what my brother from the VFW is referring to is this week, the administration through the VA put out a new preliminary rulemaking, which is how you change policy within administrations, within departments, that would change radically how they pay and what they pay for veterans' benefits and disability compensation, with the intent of reducing ratings, disability ratings, which is what determines how much money you get monthly. But also, my understanding, my reading of it, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, is that it would be retroactive as well, is that it would potentially go back and revise based upon how people are working in the community, living in the community, medications. I, of course, would fiercely oppose this. Already, our veterans don't get the benefits at the level that they deserve and they've earned. And the idea that this administration would further squeeze veterans and our veteran families, of which there are over 70,000 in our district alone, is a total abomination and would be further turning their back on our veterans community. And let's not forget that this administration has fired more veterans in the federal workforce than any administration in the history of this country. Right? They have fired tens of thousands of workers, many of those are veterans, and put them out on the proverbial streets after firing them. And severe costs to the VA, cuts to the VA system itself as well, on top of it. So all of this is an assault on the veterans community. I believe philosophically that if you step up to serve our country, if you raise your right hand and take that oath, you're willing to give your life, your welfare, and put it all on the line for your country, that when you return home, we have a moral obligation to make sure we protect you and your family and take care of you and your family. That's an obligation that not only is a moral one and the right thing to do, it's a promise that we make to our veterans and to our military, but it's also why people sign up and they go and do these things that we ask them to do, because if something happens, they know that they or their families will be taken care of. And if they don't feel like we will keep that promise, I would be afraid that people would not be willing to serve in the way that we need them to. So anyhow, that is what we know. This is new. We're trying to get more information. On the positive side, since we're addressing veterans issues, I just spoke today with the new director of the VA hospital in Aurora, the Rocky Mountain VA, Director Gill. We had a very positive discussion. This is the first permanent director we've had in almost 2 years at the facility, so having permanent leadership is positive, and we got off to a positive start in this relationship, and I told Director Gill I look forward to working with him, and our mutual mission of protecting our veterans is serving the hundreds of thousands of veterans that get their care in the regional VA system. We, of course, will make sure we're working together to hold them accountable and they do the right thing to speed up health care, increase the access to it, and continue to do it on a high-quality basis. So, thank you.
Great. I don't think we saw anyone stand up for the last number, so I will read a couple more. This
is 6292664. Does someone have that question? The last four were 2664. Great. And before you start, I'm going to say the next person so we can get them a mic. 6292659. 2659. Anybody have that ticket? All right, we'll do one at a time for now. Great.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Congressman. Actually, I have two questions. The first question is, these folks that are changing our democracy, once they get tried, what types of sentences can they get? And the second question is, if they are going to withhold federal funding for any of these states, then why should we pay our federal income tax?
So on the first question, I want to make it really clear that for me, this has nothing to do with revenge or being vengeful or going after people. I'm not interested in that. Right? What I want to do is I want to protect this community, protect the country. I want us to move forward as a country. But what I also know is that history shows very clearly that when societies go through turmoil and there are abuses and there's lawlessness within a society, that accountability is essential for healing and moving forward. That there can be no movement forward and healing unless there is that accountability. So the accountability will be tied to violations of the law, to actual legal abuses. And it's very important, and this is where citizen oversight comes in, because this administration has attempted to cut Congress out of it. Right? They're not responding to our letters. They've attempted to prevent me from accessing the ICE detention center in Aurora. The wall that has gone down between Congress and the government has been extreme, and all the mechanisms of oversight that we rely on to legislate and to make good policy, a lot of those have gone away. So what that means is all of the videotaping, the pictures, folks on the street, people bearing witness to what's happening in Minneapolis and here in Colorado, how essential that has been for us seeing what's happening and what they are doing and what they're not doing. And also us making a record, because people need to know that they can't operate with impunity, right? And even though they're wearing masks, eventually we're going to take those masks off, right? And people will have to be held legally accountable and also morally accountable. Because 10, 15, 20 years from now, we're going to get through this, actually. I believe this. I mean, we are in great danger, don't get me wrong. And there's a way in which we don't get through this, but I think we will. And there's a path through it. And 10, 15, 20 years from now, when the story of this moment is written, when we look back and you say, well, what side were you on? And did you stand up and fight for the vulnerable and the defenseless? And were you willing to put yourself in the breach? People will be held accountable, and sometimes that's a matter of shame too, right? And that's really important. On the tax front, I'm just not gonna ever tell people not to pay their taxes. I understand why you asked the question. This is where I ask you to let me have this one, okay? Pay your taxes, follow the law, and I am fighting like hell to make sure that they are not weaponizing against Colorado, that they're not continuing to playing the political games that they are against you all as the taxpayers. We are, the comeback is starting, by the way. It's starting. The tide is turning. It is, right? You see what's happening around the country. The sentiment is shifting. The tide is turning. People are engaging in a significant way. So I think our comeback is happening. So please let me handle that piece. Okay.
Great. So I have a number here.
6292663.
Anyone have the lucky number?
Who has that? All right, if people might be getting nerves, so I'll go to the next. 6292939. There you are. Great. If you can get him a mic. And while they do that, the next number I have is 6292930. 2930. I'll read it one more time. 6292930. If you have that, wave and we'll get a mic over to you.
Yes, sir.
Senator Crow, thank you very much for what you've been doing. I was going to ask a question that my wife had, but I think I'll ask this question instead.
I disclaim all responsibility for any discord that results from this, but go ahead.
I grew up in the 60s, and 50s and 60s. My dad never talked about World War II much. But I can tell you right now, if he was alive today, he said it's time to re-enlist. I didn't think I'd have to fight Nazis more than once in my life. And I just don't understand where we've gotten, why we've gotten to where we've gotten. It just makes no sense to me that we have so many people that just want to tear this country down. And I know you're fighting for it, but the other thing I wanted to mention was this alternative State of the Union that you guys are going to put on, are you going to be part of that, number one? And two, do you think we can get enough attention to it to make a difference? I mean, I watch it for sure, but I'm just wondering if it's the right thing to do. I mean, the guy that derailed Obama stood up in his first State of the Union and said, "You lie." And that was kind of the end of him after that. So maybe we could do something like that. What do you think?
First of all, on the rise of extremism, fascism and white supremacy, and even people, we've all seen this, these people walking around neo-Nazi, and it's beyond disturbing, right? Because there's been a permission structure created, a platforming of these extreme groups. It's very disturbing, to say the least, and also threatening. The rise of political violence is going up many-fold. There are 4 times as many threats against members of Congress than there were just a few years ago, for example. Our history is always a history of the contest between our highest ideals of a nation and our worst impulses. It's constantly a clash. And that is, both the beauty of this diverse, multicultural, amazing system that we have, but it's also the challenge that we have. So what that is going to require us to do is just double down on our values, on our organizing, on courage, people speaking up and reaffirming publicly who we are and who we want to be, right? Not just who we are, but who we want to be, because we have not yet reached that more perfect union. We've had notable failures. We're aspiring to that. And I believe that not only can we get through this moment, but we can get through it in a way that recognizes our failings, recognizes how fragile we really have been the last couple of years right now, and we can actually strengthen our democracy. And we can come out of this and go into a period of democratic enlightenment that our country has not seen in generations. I actually believe that could be the result of this, if we do this right, and we have the right leadership and the right approach. And that's what I'm working towards. But it does require us to acknowledge and to say out loud what it is we're seeing and what we're dealing with, and to not pull our punches, verbally, in the way that we organize, too. I am scheduled to participate in this alternative State of the Union, which I will be doing. And I'm going to do that before, and I'm also going to sit on the House floor and participate in the State of the Union. Because I think it's my obligation. You all elected me and sent me to Washington to sit on that floor, and I have a couple of constitutional duties: to take votes, barring major illness or a missed flight, I'm always there voting, and to bear witness and to be your representative on that floor. Right, and I know it's gonna be tough to sit through, real tough. And there's gonna be some crazy stuff, so we all know that. But I represent your seat. And there is a seat on the floor for you all for that. And I will sit there, I will listen, I will know what it is we're up against, and I will continue to do my job. So that's gonna be my approach.
Great. The next number I have is
And listen, we're in a heated time, okay? We're in a heated time, and everyone has the right to be heard, but they don't have the right to drown out other people's voices, right? So there's a lot of disinformation and misinformation out there. People see things on the internet and media that are not true. It is not true what that gentleman said. We are working to be transparent. We want to be give everyone an opportunity to be heard, right? And we are doing that equally. But listen, this is a tough environment, and people are fearful. People believe and see a lot of things that makes them further afraid, and I think we have to understand that some people deal with that in different ways.
The next number I have is 629-2819. 629-2819. There you are.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm gonna, while they get the mic, I'm gonna read another one in hopes. We'll try. 629-2672. 629-2672. If you could raise your hand, you'll be next. So we'll start with this gentleman.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for clearing up. Excuse me. I'm Andy Logan, and I lead a small medical diagnostic company over at Fitzsimmons. And Terrell Horton actually came to visit us last week, so it's a pleasure to be here. We are funded by National Science Foundation and the NIH. And so, as you can imagine, like those funding sources are growing less secure every day. And our mission is to combat bacterial infections that don't have antibiotics for them, so what we call multi-drug infections. We've brought in about $3.5 million of government money so far, and we've done everything that we hoped to do, we'll put it that way. We have a really amazing technology, and on top of all these successes, what we're finding is that the NIH, for example, is trying to claw back money from us. The NSF is shutting down and not releasing any new funds. And what really adds insult to injury here is that the SBIR program, the Small Business Innovative Research Program, is not reauthorized. So all future funds are just in limbo. So my entire staff is going to start getting laid off in May. And so I know that you support this, and so I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir, but I guess my question is, are you doing everything that you can do to reauthorize this program and release these funds and support small business in the United States?
Yeah, thank you for what you're doing. I am aware of this situation and others like it. We have the Anschutz Medical Campus here in the district, which is the second largest revenue generator, income generator for the district behind Buckley Space Force Base. But beyond that, it's an international hub for the research that you and others are doing, right? Cancer research, there's research to help cure blindness, there's diabetes research, there's combat trauma research for our service members, there's all sorts of things, you name it, and there's people that are doing it there on the public and the private side. And NIH, as some of you are aware, I'm sure you are, sir, but NIH is actually one of the best investments that the American taxpayer makes, because it is proven that for every dollar that goes into the NIH, over $3 of economic generation revenue comes out of it. That's in the form of new businesses that come out, new patents, new medical innovations. So it's actually generating profit for our economy. And in addition to that, just the fundamental research on healthcare that NIH and NSF puts in. So I'm fighting hard to preserve what's there. And this is one area in which I indicated earlier that I continue to try to find those areas for bipartisan work. This is one of those areas where there are some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who also understand this and have resources in their districts, who have people who are sick, who have sick loved ones. I mean, whatever motivates people, it shouldn't take them having a sick loved one to want to do the right thing, but sometimes it does, right? But I'm finding those folks who are willing to work with me, and we are trying to create a bipartisan coalition to protect that funding stream, for you and the thousands of other folks who are in your position. And on top of it, the other thing we're really struggling with is the Anschutz campus, like similar campuses that are these large innovation hubs for healthcare research and are also teaching campuses for schools of medicine, rely on foreign researchers and professors and others to come. And there are hundreds of folks who use visa programs, and these are some of the best and brightest medical researchers and teachers in the world who are coming here to help our businesses, to help our medical schools, to help our hospitals, because they also treat patients too while they're doing this research, and a lot of them have been cut off. Visa programs cut off. A lot of them, frankly, don't want to come right now because they don't feel safe here. And we are in greater jeopardy as a result of that too. So we're trying to find ways to address those visa programs, but that is hard sledding. Thanks.
Question. Thank you, Congressman Crow, for being here and for hearing our questions. I have two questions, one at the beginning and one at the end. Will you be making a visit to the detention center here in Aurora while you are here for the break? And the reason I'm asking is because I'm concerned about the medical attention the detainees are receiving. I've spoken with several people directly through my work with Casa de Paz, and it is truly unconscionable what has happened to them just in the last few weeks. One young man had an injury to his ankle from playing soccer and had to be carried back into the building and then to meals within his own dormitory as he was in so much pain. He was taken to the medical room but was never seen by a doctor despite numerous requests and was not even given ibuprofen or a cold pack for the swelling. Another young man was told to drink water for flu symptoms and a severe sore throat. I think we can all agree that this is not adequate medical care. So what can be done about this inhumane treatment, and how can GEO be held accountable? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that work. I work closely with that organization, as does my team and other immigrant and refugee rights organizations we talk to regularly. I've made this a priority for my oversight. Between my staff and I, we have done, now it's over 80 visits in total over the last 7 years to that facility. We've set a standard nationally. We actually train other congressional offices now on ICE and immigration detention oversight. We've created a best practices handbook that we have exported out to other offices. And as you might know, I'm locked in litigation right now with the Department of Homeland Security. We're going back and forth, and we're actively litigating. And we won about 3 weeks ago, we won a temporary restraining order to restrain the administration's policy that requires 7-day notice for members of Congress. So that restraining order allowed me to do an immediate visit. So I think it was last week. Last week I did that visit. So I did one last week. We have another staff one coming up soon, and tomorrow. So we're going to continue to do these oversight visits. And then if there are specific cases, I know you indicated one, if there are specific cases, what you can do is talk to my staff, and we can get privacy release forms filled out for detainees, and that allows us to intercede in their cases and talk with the detainees and then figure out specifically what's happening with any one detainee's case. But we would need to work with you to get approval to do that from that individual, which we do a lot of, actually. We do, dozens of those regularly. And then overall, I have led the effort in Congress along with my colleague Pramila Jayapal from Washington State. We have for years led the effort to actually ban private detention centers nationally. Because I just don't believe, and I think this is pretty easy to prove actually, that putting a profit motivation and having a private company detaining humans leads to good results. It does not. And this is an area where I actually fought the Biden administration, because the Biden administration issued an executive order ending contracts with private detention centers, but only for the Federal Bureau of Prisons. They exempted from that immigration detention centers. So we criticized them, we fought that, we tried to create a coalition within Congress to override that effort. We did not prevail, but we will continue.
The next number
I have is 6292900. Okay, there.
A lot of excitement on that one.
And then
You don't get a prize or anything, just
and the next one we have for preparation is 6292505. 2505.
Gentleman over there.
Great, you'll be next. We'll have someone bring you a mic.
Congressman Crow, thank you for being here tonight. You know, and as a fellow veteran, it is so great to have a veteran representing us. I just am so jazzed about that. So thank you so much. So like everyone else, I'm concerned about all the punitive actions being taken against our state. I mean, we're seeing NCAR potentially slowing down the water project in rural communities. That's against Bober's district, you know, because she wasn't playing along with the administration.
Hey, you got to give credit where credit is due sometimes.
Seriously, I'll take it.
Doesn't happen often, but when it does.
But we just seem to have this atmosphere of personal vendettas against the blue states. I could go on, but I don't want to take away time from others. But we keep hearing often that, hey, we got to wait till the midterms, you know, to get some leverage, you know. And I don't even think we're going to make it to the midterms. It just feels like it is so far away and so much damage is going to be permanent. And I think back to when the GOP had the minority back in the day, and they were able to leverage that to their advantage. So what procedural tricks, what can we do that they did? Like they blocked Merrick Garland's nomination, for example, as a minority. So what can we do, or what can you guys do? I mean, the SAVE Act is sailing on through. We have Fetterman voting against Democrats. I mean, we got some insanity here. I just don't think we're going to even make it to the midterms. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I think we will make it to the midterms. I mean, that's my job, to get us to the midterms. And I'm not going to talk about politics here. This is an official event, but I understand the gravity of that time and that push to November. I'm not going to tell you all of our tips and tricks now, because I'm sure they're listening to me right now. But we're meeting, we're planning, we're figuring out all options. A, B, we have to stick together better as a caucus, and the House has been better at that than the Senate. That's just honest, right? We've had numerous unanimous Democratic caucus votes where we've all just held together and held firm, and including like on the big appropriations bills last year and other very significant bills, and that's important to recognize. I disagreed with last year and twice senators that voted for appropriations bills because I didn't think they truly recognized the gravity of the moment that we were in. And they did so basically because they had been given promises for future votes, and a promise isn't worth crap by this administration, right? We need to have firm enforceable guarantees, right, in ink. So I think those are lessons learned by other folks. I've kind of learned it from the beginning, so we need to continue to hold it firm. 3 is the informal power of organizing and mobilizing that we're seeing around the country and how we're actually seeing that have impact. Let's look at Minneapolis as one of the best examples. The people of Minneapolis stood up, showed up, literally held the line, and when their city was under assault, they did not allow themselves to be abused. And ICE is leaving, right? And that was a hit in the administration. Now we're being vigilant, as they are, right? Everybody's being vigilant because we're not taking any one win for granted. But that is the power of leadership, both formal and informal. And I have a huge, huge job and responsibility here, and I am fighting like hell to fulfill that. But you all do too, right? This is a moment where you all are going to be as much part of the solution, frankly, as many of us are, in standing up and doing that citizen oversight, doing that advocacy, that organizing, that mobilizing. And if we are in a similar position in Colorado, which I hope we won't be, but we could be, then we will stand up and we will protect ourselves, as Coloradans do. And I think a big part of this is showing and having strength. Because, I've been dealing with Donald Trump for almost a decade now. I first ran in 2017, I was elected in 18. So I'm going into my 9th year of dealing with this in some way, shape, or form. And what I've learned, what I think you all have seen, is that he is a bully, and bullies punch down. Right? They almost never punch up. They punch down, and they take advantage of the weak, and they try to pick people off, who are solo or individual. So there's strength in numbers. There's strength in herding, creating a herd and sticking with the herd and the pack and protecting each other. And there's a lot of importance in showing our strength and our competence and saying that we won't be bullied and we're not going to engage in appeasement. Because you're right, he is politicizing the federal government against cities and states that he perceives are not friendly to him or who have a different political affiliation. But I think that if you appease and you give in to that, the price always goes up. When you're dealing with a shakedown racket, a racketeering, the payment's never enough, right? So you think you're settling it once, and you're fooling yourself. So we got to hold firm.
Yes, sir. Okay? Yes.
Yeah. Well, continue to put pressure on folks to speak up and stand up, right? This is a moment for very visible and aggressive leadership, right? And I've been attacked a lot because I'm not shying away from the fight. I'm just always going to go where the fight is, and there are consequences to that, and so be it. That's my job. I don't think there's a way to lead in this moment any other way. That's my view. And you can continue to tell others what you want of them. And you're right about the information environment, right? A lot of this comes from Steve Bannon, who's one of the president's top advisors and strategists, has this theory he calls flooding the zone, where you just flood information space with all sorts of crap, like so much that your opponent can't even handle it, right? You just get overwhelmed, and people don't even know what the truth is anymore, and everyone kind of backs up and checks out. So that's clearly what they're doing, right? What I feel like we need to do is need to flood the zone in reverse, right? But the key difference being with the truth, with facts, and do so in a way that you're not doing it like them, right? And this is really key. Sometimes I hear people say, fight fire with fire and just be like them. We're trying to achieve something different, right? And let's not mistake being different with being weak, right? We can be strong and have the strength of our convictions, while also being right and committed to truth and doing the right thing. Because at the end of the day, we are trying to build, right? They're trying to destroy and tear down and divide. We're trying to build and unite and move forward. Very different mission that requires a very different result at the end. So you're right, I'm gonna go everywhere. I will go pretty much everywhere. That's why I go on, conservative TV and radio, I go on talk show, I go on radio shows, I go on podcasts, I go on Fox News, because you have to have the confidence of your convictions and be willing to fight for what you believe in everywhere, leaving no ground uncontested. And you also never know who you're reaching, right? People sometimes are like, why do you even go on Fox or one of these stations? And like, well, because I don't know who's in the waiting room. Or I don't know who else is, in the living room listening. Because they need to hear me too. And I'm just going to try to project strength and let people know I'm not afraid of a fight, and for letting them know what I think. So that's my kind of philosophical view to communication. I'm trying to do it all. The media environment has changed a lot, right? So a lot of it is, what people get on their phone, on their Instagram feed, on TikTok, on YouTube, on podcasts. So we're doing that, and a lot of it regularly.
The next ticket number I have is 6292660. All right, and as they bring the mic, the next ticket I have is 6292940. 940. No? Okay, I'll do one more. 6292755.
In the meantime, sir. Hello. I don't think I'd actually I just want to thank you for having this forum, and from one veteran to another, I want to thank you for your service.
Thank you for yours.
I work for Air Force. I guess my question, Congressman, is I work for a small auto repair service here in Aurora, and we're finding it more difficult to fix people's vehicles because manufacturers are kind of restricting access to tools, software, and parts that we need to fix it. Sometimes it's impossible. It doesn't just affect me, it affects other shops. This doesn't only include vehicles, this includes, I've noticed this trend in medical devices, farming equipment, and personal electronics, video games, all that stuff. My question, I guess, is what are you doing in Congress to kind of combat manufacturers kind of bullying consumers? And,
This is a big issue. This is really big, particularly in rural areas, in some places in the West. The initiative that I'm helping support is what's called Right to Repair. Right, that you have the right. I'm sure you're familiar with this as a mechanic. You have the right to, have your own parts, make your own parts, and to repair, major products. I think that's something that should be a consumer right. And I'm working with some of my colleagues to legislate that and to combat some of that protectionism that, frankly, creates market aberrations, where things are far more expensive than they need to be and costs are prohibitively expensive, and it requires either people wait a long time, pay a lot more, or they just have to buy a whole new product, which is both wasteful and inefficient and unaffordable for folks. So that's one thing I'm doing. And then on the talk about wasteful and inefficient, the defense budget, which is very bloated right now, in large part because of our flawed defense acquisition and procurement system and the right to repair issues. So let me just give you an example. So say there's like a ship, right? And the ship has a propeller or some other, clearly I'm an infantry guy. Ships, propellers. It's the extent of my knowledge. And you have a broken piece. Well, under these contracts, like only the manufacturer can repair it, right? So you gotta take the thing off the line, out of commission. You gotta cancel the mission. You gotta pull the piece out. You gotta ship it somewhere. It's gotta go to the factory. It's gotta be repaired. And it's got, so 3 or 4 months later, the ship is back out to sea, right? And it's cost you, the taxpayer, 10 times more than it should to fix it. Whereas there's actually 3D printing technology now where they could actually print that part. I mean, this is amazing stuff. You can print metal parts with these 3D printers. You could do it instantly for like pennies on the dollar, get it repaired, keep the ship in operation, save you all billions of dollars. It's just insane. And it's all because the contract and procurement system and some of these large defense companies are protectionist about it. So I'm taking that on, I'm tackling that and trying to fix it, and trying to save you all a lot of money. But there's the commercial aspect to that too. I don't know if it's on. Is it working? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So you spoke of accountability. I wanted to know if this applies for judges and magistrates in the judicial system, particularly in family court, where children are constantly sent to be with abusers because the courts prioritize parental rights over child safety. For the system to enable this, like CPS, we go through abuse claims like questionnaire, and if it doesn't reach a certain amount, they don't look into it any further. Arizona has already declared family court an epidemic and national emergency. Thank you.
Due to the violations of children's civil rights, I'm currently part of a bill proposal here in Colorado involving family court reform with Lisa Aragon as the head of the bill. She did send you a presentation email in regards to this desperately needed reform. Personal stories from aggrieved parents and traumatized children revealed disturbing patterns of judicial overreach, lack of accountability, and the silencing of parents and children in custody battles. Colorado Domestic Violence Fatality Review Board 2025 report identified active custody litigation as a high-risk period for children in households experiencing domestic violence. I'm not sure if you're aware of the 2024 data. 5 of the 8 children killed in domestic violence incidents were involved in custody disputes. And I'm aware there's training being offered as a solution, but it's not enough when these very systems are not held accountable and children are still dying. My daughter is currently with our abuser right now due to a court order, despite a child abuse charge. Who is to be held accountable if she becomes the next statistic? There's no skin in the game for the family court system, CPS, and the other players who send victims and survivors like ourselves back into a situation they tried to escape from, but now are forced back into it legally. It is state-sanctioned torture, and I want to know if there's going to be any consideration for this accountability in the family court system, and if you were able to look at that presentation yet.
Ma'am, I am sorry to hear of your situation and that you're struggling with this right now. So a couple of things. Number one, if you are in need of additional support or issues, my team will talk to you and make sure we have a lot of resources. We have a lot of connections at the local level, the state level, a lot of organizations we work with, and we'll do everything we can to make sure that you and your child are safe. So that's number one. Two is I have not seen the presentation. I'm not aware of that state law. Sounds like that's at the state legislature. But we will look at it. My team may have looked at it, and it just hasn't made it to my desk yet. But I'll make sure that I do take a look at what you're talking about, and if there's a way that we can be supportive to make things safer for you and for kids, we will certainly do that, and we'll work with our state partners and local partners in that regard.
Great, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And we're getting close to time, so I have another question and then final comments, if that works. But it is, the number is 6292 500. 500.
All right. A lot of enthusiasm in this portion of the auditorium.
Thank you so much for being here. I am a frequent caller and writer to your office, and I appreciate your responses. You always respond. I am proud when somebody, when you're on TV or you're speaking, and I say, "That's my congressman." I just want you to know that. My concern, I have so many concerns, and my family has been personally affected by the retribution. One of my concerns, though, is our freedom of speech and what is happening in the media. I was a student at the University of Wisconsin in 1968 when a Spanish professor of mine...
You're a Badger, too?
I'm a Badger,
I'm
yes.
also a Badger.
Oh,
Go Badgers.
yes, indeed.
And us.
A Spanish professor, knowing that I was going to spend the summer in Spain, asked if I would take a shortwave radio to a former visiting Spanish professor in Salamanca. He outfitted me with a duffel bag and a shortwave radio, which I bootlegged. Thank God we hadn't any TSA. I got it to him, and the whole purpose was, it was during the time that Franco was in power, and the people in Spain and other places in Europe were listening to Voice of America and Radio Free Europe. One of the first things that this administration did was to wipe out Radio Free Europe in Europe. Currently, our local TV station, Channel 9, is being threatened by a merger that will put them in connection with Fox News. And it really concerns me that we are seeing the erosion, CBS, and what has happened to national public media, PBS, and so on and so forth. They are shutting down the access to any kind of instrument that is trying to give us the truth. How can we fight that?
Yeah.
So all you described is accurate, right? And we just saw again last night or the night before, I forget when it was, when a Texas candidate was supposed to go on a show, Colbert, and right, and that follows many other incidents. And this is the broader pattern of trying to cut out free and fair press, trying to, like you said, Voice of America, Voice of Europe, which has been an incredible boon for our national security and for democracy, have been slashed. And this is happening around the world, right, with all of our aid programs and as well as domestically. So one is Chris Murphy and I created legislation that we actually introduced just last month. We kind of came up with this last year. We've been working on it. And it's called the NOPE Act, the No Political Enemies Act. And what it would do is create a private cause of action against individuals or for individuals and entities who are the subject of adverse action when the basis of that is politics. So if the U.S. government, because of your political affiliation or identity or persuasion, would deny you something or take action against you because of your politics, it would give you legal recourse to respond and to sue the federal government. So we are pushing that legislation. I'm under no delusions that this Congress and this president would sign it, but this goes into our overall reform package that we are working on right now that looks at all that guardrails that have fallen or that didn't exist, that were just norms and that were just the Russians, I think, have gotten me. That are just the norms, customs, traditions that when they're stopped being enforced or they're not followed anymore, they fall. Right? We just have to put all this stuff in law right now. All right, so we are working on that comprehensive democracy reform package that includes protecting the information space, equal access to the airwaves, and making sure that the FCC, just like the Federal Elections Commission and all the other agencies, are not run for political purposes. So that is the primary way that I can go about that. The second is consumer action. Right? This is actually really important. I think consumers need to speak up, and if a company, if a media conglomerate is bowing down to Trump and politicizing and capitulating to threats, it's your decision about whether or not you want to continue to patronize that business. Right? And I think that the market, democracy takes a lot of forms. Its most pure form is in elections, but it's also voting with your wallet, voting with your time, voting with your business. I think that matters an awful lot in making sure that people hear all of us in every way that we can be heard.
We are at 7 o'clock, so did you want to say some last words for our audience?
Sure. Can we do one more question?
Oh, sure. We'll find someone else.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll read it. The number I have is 629-2929. There you go.
Sir.
One second for the microphone.
Thank you, Congressman Crow, for taking the time to come out and see us. This is actually my second time seeing you again.
There you go.
I'm going to touch bases on one of the first things that you talked about. Military members don't have to follow unlawful orders. Has it actually happened? So what I'm saying is National Guard units, the unit commanders, they're actually mobilizing and moving their units to deploy or move to other states for those reasons. Someone pushed or pulled the trigger on that second strike. And I was just wondering, is it actually happening? Are there actually military members that are not following orders, or are they, or I guess what's going on? I guess, have you heard of anything from you? Thank you.
Yeah, great question. So there's kind of three different buckets when we think about military and constitutional issues and lawfulness. There's the bucket of does the president have constitutional authority from Congress to conduct an action? And I believe that there are several examples in the last year where the president has done things that he lacks constitutional congressional authority for. And that's an issue for Congress to reassert itself and retake its constitutional powers. Now, this president, he campaigned as an isolationist to end the endless conflicts, but he's now governing as an imperialist. Right? He doesn't see a problem that he doesn't think he can bomb his way out of, it seems. It's 7 different countries have been bombed in the first year of this administration, and counting. That's the first bucket. The second bucket is our operations conducted in a lawful manner. And you look at the Caribbean strikes, the operations in the Caribbean. I saw the video of the September 2nd strike. And as somebody who has led soldiers in combat, I believe that was a violation of the law of war. I see no reason why that strike on unarmed individuals who were clearly shipwrecked and helpless and stranded in the middle of the ocean on top of a burning piece of wreckage should have been targeted and killed. I think that was a violation. Then the third is actions of our military within the United States. The several courts have already found numerous deployments of the National Guard within the states to be unlawful, and have ordered those deployments to end, which they have. And this administration has now ended, as of now, those deployments. But then there's the issue of actions of individual soldiers, and this is where we are being proactive, and where the video came from, the genesis of the video. And this came from my personal experience as a combat leader. That when you're leading people in combat, just like my paratroopers, I'm talking about 18, 19, 20-year-old young men and women who are asked to be put in a position to make a split-second decision. That's a life or death decision. Do you shoot? Do you not shoot? Do you take an action? Do you not take an action? And the leader isn't sitting right next to those people most of the time telling them what to do or not to do. You have to train them beforehand. It's that training, it's that setting of morality, the setting of conditions that the leader is responsible for doing, that I did with my soldiers every time I went to Iraq and Afghanistan. I'd sit them down and train them about what their obligations were. And that was the spirit of the video that you're referencing, where we wanted to jumpstart a national conversation about, in a conversation with our service members, about what the law requires them to do, what their oath to the Constitution requires them to do, and what this country, what we all expect them to do. And that's in the context of the president, who has repeatedly made statements that he wants to use the military in unlawful ways. Example, go to war with the city of Chicago. Example, shoot protesters in the legs in Lafayette Square, which he asked if he could do. Example, deploy troops to polling stations, which he's made several comments about doing, which actually is a violation of U.S. criminal law. Example, kill the children and spouses of terrorists. He said this, we're going to kill their families and their kids, which is also murder and the violation of the law of war. So this president has made repeated statements that he has indicated he will do those things, and that would, of course, be unlawful. That would put our service members in untenable positions. And we are having that conversation with them now, publicly, about what we as a country expect our military to do. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you all for coming. If there are questions that I did not get to, please submit those to my staff. My staff is around here. We will get back to you. I said earlier that I believe we will get through this, and I do believe that. I don't believe it's a given. I don't believe it's going to happen on its own and that it's inevitable. I do believe that we remain in danger as a society and as a democracy. But there is a path, and it's a path that's widening because I indicated earlier that the tide is turning. People are standing up, they're speaking up, they're showing courage. We're recapturing our democracy and our democratic processes in our government, and it is growing. This president believes that fear is contagious, which it can be. But what I believe is that courage is a lot more contagious. And when leaders and everyday folks stand up and show courage and speak up, sometimes at cost. Sometimes it means you incur cost. But when you do that, it spreads, and people get emboldened. This year is a big one, and we have to be vigilant. We have to have plans. We do have those plans. I will fight to protect free and fair elections. We're doing everything possible, legally, legislatively, organizing, and with communications, right? All the different buckets of things that we are doing. We are working very, very hard, relentlessly for that, to make sure that Americans can speak up and retake their democracy. And I believe that that will happen this year. Thank you.